Hey, hi, Evie. Another week, another catch up. Here we go.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Nice
brilliant.
being here again.
Always good to be here. Always good to be here. And I'm kind of loving the topic that we have this week, and one that we're going to spend quite a bit of time looking at through the eyes of different saboteurs. And I think that's going to be really interesting to see. And so, do you want to introduce it, Evie? Actually, I'm going to shut up for once. Let you introduce it.
Well, you actually, are thinking exactly what I was thinking. I'm really excited about today and generally the weeks to come because we are going to really like marry the Brilliance Blueprint and positive intelligence, which I think to me, it makes absolute sense. And of course, introducing how the different saboteurs see like act in our lives, and I think that like for every person that watches this, they will find something relevant for themselves, because we all have all the saboteurs, as we have discussed in the past, but judge being the main one and the one that we're going to be discussing mostly today. But for every single one of them, there is something that is slightly different, the way that it is showing up in our lives. And I think that it's really nice to speak about them. Like everything, when you talk about it, you sort of give it a name, and you can deal with it in a better way, I think. And of course, the other thing is that when you are um, like talking about these things, you learn more about them. So that is a good thing for us. At least for me, I definitely want to revisit all the wonderful things we have learned, and the things that we have put in practice in our lives, and hear about everybody else, how those things show up for them. So yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
really excited about this. And
Excellent,
of course,
excellent.
the thing that we are discussing is that the "I'm not enough"
Yes.
concept, which we all have it, and
Yeah.
more or less,
We,
we
I
all
think we've
have it.
all had it. Yeah,
And,
absolutely. We've all
and
experienced it at some point. It may come and go. It may be something very much from the past. It may be something in the moment, right here, right now. Uh, but what I love about looking at it through the eyes of the saboteur, so using positive intelligence, is seeing how each saboteur plays out I am not enough, because they each play it out, as you said, Evie, in a slightly different way. And so today, because we want to kind of keep these relatively bite-sized, so you can just get the real gems and get to the heart of it. We're going to look at I am not enough through the eyes of the judge. And again, as Evie has said, the judge is like the saboteur that is common through us all, whether we want to own it or not. It is there. It resides. It shows up. But the beautiful thing is, as with all the other saboteurs, we do get to tame it. I'm going to use that word, tame it. But when we think about I am not enough, because I think that in and of itself is such a kind of powerful statement to have to own, to actually say I feel that, or I have felt that I'm not enough. uh, Certainly from my own personal experience, I have experienced it in work, I've experienced it in relationships, I've experienced it probably less in my health, because that's probably been pretty steadfast. But I can definitely think about that period in my life where my life went to the wall, where I wasn't feeling like I was enough. I was enough to do these things for myself. I just didn't feel enough of anything, to be honest, at that moment of time. So I guess, if we think about the judge and the I am not enough, what's that pattern that comes up with the judge?
well, the thing is that I am not enough. As you said, it shows up. It can be like a very sneaky one, because it shows up. You might be very confident as a person. You might be very confident at your work, for example, and then something goes wrong with your relationship, and there it goes. I'm not enough. And because it is like this, it sort of like, when it comes to the judge, it's like one of those things. You're straight away targeting yourself, your inner, existence. You just say that, there must be me, that I have done something wrong. I don't really deserve, and there are like a lot of things that are going on in there. So that is the reason why I think that like the judge and dealing with the I am not enough concept is a very important thing to unpack and also reflect on for all of us. Because you did say it, Yvonne, is like you can say, well, I always feel that I am enough, I'm loved, and this and that and the other, and then you will not know where it's going to come from. And if you don't own it, it's going to overtake your life, and it's not a good feeling, because that, I think, it's only personal thing. It's like something that you feel. It's not easy for others to see, and it can be very damaging. And that is, worth discussing about.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that kind of pattern that comes with the I am not enough through the judge's eye is just constant self-criticism. And it can, and it, you can get so caught up in it that it almost feels comforting because you're so used to doing it. But this is probably the thing with most of the saboteurs, is it begins to feel like your absolute go-to. Like, if I'm not beating myself up, then what exactly am I doing? Because I need to criticize myself to get better. I need to criticize myself to improve. I need to criticize myself to be enough. And we know these things are not true, but this is kind of the constant self-criticism that the judge comes with. That means that you end up kind of feeling like, perfection, everything should be perfect. And if it's not perfect, then it's because of me, and I need to do something different, or I need to do something more, or I just don't have what it takes to be, all of that stuff. And if it's anything less than perfect, then basically you end up just telling yourself that you're a failure. That actually I'm not enough, because if I was enough, I'd be able to do this. If I was enough, I'd be able to meet this person. If I was enough, I'd be able to, look after my health whilst doing all these other myriad of things that I'm doing. And I think that word that you said, sneaky, is probably the right word, because it can be very sneaky. And sometimes it can kind of dial into your dialogue without you really recognizing the voice that it is. And so for me, one of the important things about talking about these different voices and how they show up is so that we can begin to recognize them. For me, recognition, so awareness, is the recognition. Oh my gosh, there goes my judge again, telling me, yeah, my judge is telling me I'm not enough because I did something that wasn't perfect, that I did something that wasn't as great as what somebody else did. Constant. Yeah.
And you know what I love about this is that when you recognize it, then you can talk about your judge in the third person, and that is very powerful. I know that it is something that Shujad is teaching quite a lot, and it is like, really, there is a big difference in saying, I am not enough, and my judge is telling me that I am not enough. Huge difference.
Yes.
And the moment you start doing that and you're shifting the language, you can do something about it. You're taking back control. And the other thing about the judge and about, I'm not enough, that we need to be aware of, is that comparison bit, because I think that's how it starts. Or some of it starts like this, like,
Yes.
the other person can do this, why can I not do it? Or the other person has this, and why can I not have it? And so on and so forth. And then that becomes the inner dialogue, that is constant, and it's beating you up, because if somebody else can do it, why can't you do it? There must be
Yeah.
something wrong with you. And like the judge, and like, I just want to say it here, I don't know if but for the people that will work with positive intelligence, there is like a fantastic exercise with regards to meeting your judge, and it is so strong, that exercise, because you once you see it like this out of your body, you cannot unsee it. In a way, you can see like the second person in you that is actually manipulating this area of your life, and is pushing you to do things or act or show up in a very different way that you would if you didn't have that constant voice in your head. So yeah.
Absolutely. And I think one of the sneakiest things about the judge is it's so self-critical, and yet at the same time it fears being judged. So it's this battle of, like, it's criticizing you so that you don't get judged. What game are you playing? So we have to sometimes understand how we're being messed with from the inside. So, I don't feel like I'm enough, so I'm now beating myself up. I'm beating myself up, but I'm also hoping that nobody else will judge me. It, you know, and so this becomes a real battleground, and again can just cause so much internal frustration and anxiousness, and so much self-doubt. You begin to like, can I do anything right? Have I got any value? And those kind of things that some people may have heard them before, but have either just kind of suppressed it, or tried to ignore it, or have just completely embodied it. And whichever one of those it is, what we really want to do is to face it. So, like you were saying,
Absolutely.
Evie, when we have that exercise and we can literally sit the judge down, let's have a face to face. I want to see you in your full glory. I don't know if that's the right word, but I want to see all of you so that I can understand you. Because once I see you and I understand you, I know I can start doing things differently. And I think that's where the Brilliance Blueprint then comes in. So, Evie, perhaps you want to touch on that, because that's really getting to I see you and now I know what to do bit.
Absolutely. I mean, the whole point is to be able to see who you really are in the truth, rather than in the stories that you have made up or other people have made up for you, and to unpack all of this, and now accept who you are, because there might be areas that you want to work on, of course, but like, see them in the light, not of the judge, but of the sage, the light of um, somebody that will give you what is said, not judgment, but is it discernment, the word that we're using? Yeah,
Yes,
discernment.
yes.
So, like, you don't really judge when you, for example, when for your child, you won't judge your child, unless you are a weird parent. Sorry, but you actually try to help them see something, and then act on it in a way that is going to serve them right, or that's
Yes.
what needs to be done, and that's what we do for ourselves, or we have, or we not have to, that's again too heavy, but that's what it would be nice to do, so we
Absolutely.
can step out of this vicious cycle of beating ourselves up.
Yeah. Interestingly, though, that you say about parents, and that it would be weird if they were being like that with their children, but they do, because parents compare their children, right?
Yeah.
So they can criticize them for, you got a B, why didn't you get an A? I mean, there are ways that plays out. So the wording may be whatever, but actually that it's a criticism of said. And actually what we want to do, as opposed to being critical of ourselves and of others, is actually some more compassion. And that for me is when we start working in that discernment space, in the sage space, when we start actually being more compassionate. So, you know what? Yeah, I did that. It wasn't the best, wisest move. It's not what I wanted. But instead of now telling myself I'm not enough, I'm just going to say, it's a moment. It's okay. I'm going to hold this. I'm still worthy. This one thing doesn't make me not enough, because
Correct.
we have to break that, almost like this didn't go according to plan, therefore I'm not enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not. This has to break. This is the thing that absolutely has to stop. And the more we can listen and understand how the dialogue that's coming from the judge, the sooner we can actually, I hear that language and I need to change that language. That language needs to
Absolutely.
change from breaking me down to building me up. What do I need to do to build myself up? Because you know what, folks, if we don't build ourselves up, I don't know who we think is going to come and do it for us. We have a responsibility to do that for ourselves. And actually, as we do that for ourselves, we are empowered to help others do the same. So for me, it's always, when I talk about self-care, for instance, start with self, because if you start to nurture and build all this goodness within, that's what you pour out into others. That's what you pour out into others. But if you're stuck in a judgmental mode for yourself, chances are that's leaking out in how you treat and view and see others. Even if you're not verbalizing it, I'm talking about the internal dialogue. Oh, look at the way she
Yeah.
did that. Oh my God, she should have done better. Oh my goodness, why is she doing that? Right? So all of that stuff, as opposed to saying, actually, for the time she had, isn't it great that she was able to do that? And maybe I have some thoughts that I would like to share. It's just a different lens that we get to look through.
Absolutely.
And that
Absolutely.
is powerful.
That's exactly the thing. Is like whatever we do with ourselves and the work we do with ourselves, it's sort of like pours out to our relationships. And I think this is the most powerful thing of positive intelligence, that you learn to be a better friend, a better you, a better parent, a better whatever it is when it comes to the relationships. Because you're very right. When you are like so judgmental against yourself, imagine how judgmental you are against others or circumstances anyway. And the reason why you do that is because you need to, at some point, get that burden off you and point it to somebody else and say, and that's why at sometime I heard this concept of like, usually you judge others on the things that you don't like about yourself. And I didn't realize that, I didn't understand that until we were like quite deep in the positive intelligence work. How it shows up like this, because you are so critical of yourself, of course.
Yes.
Anyone that is doing similar things to you, or that they are not perfect just like you, you have to judge them, because I don't know, you take the spotlight of yourself. So
Yeah.
it is important to do the work, because it does help others, not only yourself.
Yeah, definitely. And again, I think through my work in working in that self-care space, and I've had clients, I'm not worthy of the time. I'm not enough. I just don't even feel like I should have time for myself, because I haven't done enough. I haven't contributed. I haven't. I'm just like, wow, that embedded message, which again, most of the saboteur messages have come from childhood experiences. Generally speaking, that's kind of where they start. They are created, and the patterns are there as a protection. But to kind of have that coming up at you when you are now in your 30s, 40s, 50s, and this stuff is still coming up, and you're still devaluing yourself, and you're still not seeing how important you are and what you have matters. These are chains of thoughts that we need to change in order to shine our brightest light. When we talk about Brilliance Blueprint, if we want to be brilliant, we need to be able to change these dialogues, these voices. We need to be able to dial down the noise so that we can truly tune in to the power that is within us. Because listen, innate powers, we all have them. In order to access them, we need to dial down all of that noise. We need to be able to do that. And I think that positive intelligence is such a brilliant tool, a way, if you like, of allowing us to do that and really start to hear the true voice that will absolutely tell you that you are enough. You don't have to do anything to be enough. You just are enough. You were born enough. That's the truth. That's the true story. And so, when we can get to that place, and let's just also add, it's not just the judge, because the other saboteurs have their role to play. So it's not just one voice that we need to dial down. There are these other ones which we are going to look at over the coming weeks. We're going to look at each of them and how they play out in I'm Not Enough. But I think once we start to recognize them and we can see who is the judge partnering up with, what am I really contending with here? And what are the things that I can do? So with the judge, my parting word is self-compassion. Self-compassion rules the day over self-criticism. Be kinder to yourself. And as you learn to do that for yourself, you will also do it for others.
That is absolutely the case. I mean, people think that it's okay to talk to themselves every kind of way. But I mean, I often tell my clients, would you really spend time with somebody that talk to you like this? And it is funny because, it is such a simple question, yet it's very profound, because not like, we don't ask it enough. And but it is the case. It is true. Why would you want to spend time with somebody that puts you down all the time?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
well, you
don't
wouldn't
do it to yourselves.
Yeah, but actually, in you saying that, that's how we end up disconnecting from ourselves, because we don't like the person that we are that we are experiencing. And but the person we are experiencing is not the person that we are. A lot of the time when we're carrying all of this stuff, that's not who we are. That's stuff that we haven't dealt with. So actually, when we can break through those things, we can actually start to really appreciate how much we are enough, and begin to like ourselves and begin to love ourselves with all that we are, the good, the bad, the ugly, the dark, the light, and everything in between, because it all plays a part. But we kind of need to be willing to go in and really look at that, without judgment.
Absolutely.
Judgment. So that's going to be my final word, is really start listening to yourself, but do it without judgment.
True. And like the more you listen, the more present you are with yourself. And then going back to what you are always saying, Yvonne, go back to self. I mean, listen. That's it.
Yeah.
I think that's the easiest first step you can take for anything. And when you know what you're listening for, then it's easier to capture it, and then in a way disassociated from who you are, and start having a different kind of dialogue.
Yeah. And build a healthy relationship, and healthy relationships start with the one that you have with yourself, which is why I always say come back to self. This relationship that you have here will impact every other relationship that you have. So this is the one that you really want to get good with and right with, in order to thrive in the other relationships that you have.
100%. I think
Awesome.
we can close here.
We're going to close here, but we love, as always, for your comments and stuff. Post them if you're watching this now, or if you come back to it and see it as a recording. Any thoughts that you have. Your judge and that I am not enough. Is that something that you have experienced? Is that a message that you have had? Have you had that self-critical voice at you all the time? And how has that felt? How does that leave you feeling? Because there is a better way. There is a better way, and we're all about that. So that's it for this week. We're going to leave that with you, some food for thought, and we look forward to joining you again next week.
Yeah, looking forward to that. Thank you, everyone. Bye
Thanks,
bye.
Abby, as always.